Okay, so now we're going to look at chapter 2. You'll find this on page 29, right? So again, if we're looking into this here, we have consumer conflict. Right, so going down through it there, consumers, somebody who buys goods and services for their own personal use. Then they can bring up here like consumer conflict, like what are the causes, bad customer service, bad goods, bad quality goods, services. That's all fine, all straightforward. They ask that on the ordinary level a lot. Thing there to look out for is consumer conflict can be solved in two ways. You've got non-legislative, okay, so this is where you're not using solicitors, you can literally just write them a complaints letter, and then you've got the legislative method where you are going down the legal route, okay, so that's just make sure you got the difference there. Non-legislative, that's just non-legal, and then legislative, that's where you backed up with laws and you're going down the more formal route. Grand non-legislative methods of solving conflicts. You've got straightforward there, meet and negotiate. Just make sure you're stressing in there. You are explaining that, you meet let's say you buy something, you're not happy with the quality of it. You buy a table, it breaks. You go back to them and say, like, look, you want a refund. They might say, look, we'll agree to repair it, okay? So both parties bargain, and then in order for it to work, a compromise is needed. So you can see those two words highlight there. If you ever explain negotiation, even between later on in chapter 3, between employer and employee, just build your definition around those two things, okay? Both parties will try to bargain with each other, and in order for negotiation to work, a compromise is needed, right? That's fine there. You can read through the rest, but it's all very straightforward. Then you've got a letter of complaint, and then the other option you have is you can go to contact the Consumers Association of Ireland, right? So straightforward enough. The only thing to note there, if you are talking about the Consumer Association of Ireland, question they can ask is like, how do they help consumers? They have a magazine called Consumer Choice. They have a free telephone service where they give you advice for free, no charge, and then they have a website called cai.ie. I genuinely don't think it'll come up in the leaving cert, the Consumer Association of Ireland, but it's dead easy. So just make sure you have a quick look over it. Right, something that does come up quite a bit is the Consumer Protection Act, right? So again, the first thing we see here is Consumer Protection Act these are the legislative methods now, right? So the Consumer Protection Act will prevent consumers against false or misleading claims made about goods and services. So the first thing there is like, if you're a seller, you can't misinform the consumers about the product or service, or even about the usage of the good. Like if it's second-hand cars, you're a car salesman, you cannot clock the mileage in the car. That's fine. Number 2, the second provision of this act is basically restricted practices. These are basically like scams. They're just banned from happening. So you can't make a false claim about your goods saying it'll like cure an illness. You can't run competitions where you offer out free prizes and then suddenly it costs money to claim these prizes back. Or you can't run competitions where you pretend, let's say there's a holiday to Dubai and that holiday is not available, okay? So you've got those 3 things there. They're basically just scams that are banned under the act. The next thing we see then here, guys, is aggressive selling. Now, make sure you mark these words in, like things like you cannot harass vulnerable citizens like the elderly, okay? So again, door-to-door salesmen can't be using like intimidation tactics to get people to buy, to get vulnerable customers to buy goods off them, right? So that's they're looking out for there on that question. Next one then, guys, is pricing, okay? The matters, provisions of this act in regards to pricing. So if you're selling fruit, you must have a weighing scales. If a special offer is available for a limited time, that time period must be clearly stated, okay? So if a shop is having a sale, let's say they're selling Adidas Predator football boots, they must state on the advertisement when that sale is going to end. And then the last one there you see is that during emergencies, the government can impose a maximum price on a product, okay? So they can impose like a maximum price for milk during emergency services. The last thing to look out for this act is who enforces this act. Now this is really, really crucial, guys. The role of the Competition Consumer Protection Commission, that's their job to enforce this act. So let's have a look now what they do. So again, if this comes up, I always just say to myself, like, right, in order, because remember again, you're walking into a memory exam. When they do ask this question, the role of the Competition Consumer Protection Commission, I just think of cram.ie, C-R-A-M-I-E. That's the way I'd approach that question there. But just have that in your head, guys, because remember, we're walking into a memory exam. So there's no point in you sitting there going, oh, yeah, I understand what he's talking about here. In the exam in June, it's literally just going to be a blank piece of paper and your memory, and you're going to have to use that to navigate your way through the question. So if they ask, like I think it was like 2021, they asked as well, like in 2016 as well, they were like, to outline the role of the CCPC. So the first thing we have here is CRAM, C-R-A-M.ie. C, or conduct research. A is advisory. They monitor mergers and acquisitions. They inform the government inform the consumer, and then they also will enforce consumer law. Okay, cram.ie. So let's jump down through it. So the first thing here is that they'll conduct research. So again, they'll carry out research like how much you'll save if you switch your electricity provider, and then they'll just basically give that information out for free on their website. So that's the first thing they'll do. They'll conduct research. And they'll give things as well like savings tips and stuff like that, right? That's one, CR. Next thing they'll do is they'll advise policymakers. So really what they're doing here is they'll advise the government. If they see that some law is out of date, they'll advise the government that this law needs to be updated, right? And that's all they're looking for there. And next thing then is they'll monitor mergers and acquisitions. Now please mark that in there, that the CCPC cannot prevent mergers from taking place, but they can only advise the government on this. Now this is really, really important. Let's say if the CCPC notice that a lot of insurance companies are merging together, and they're thinking like, right, this could be these firms forming their own monopoly where they'll control the market, and that'll be a recipe for higher prices. All they can do really is monitor it and then advise the government. And then the government though can't even stop it. They'll have to go through the commission within the EU to stop it, but that's the first route, okay? So the role of the CCPC is to monitor mergers and acquisitions and ensure that there's not a lessening of competition for consumers, because as we know, when you lessen competition in the market, one firm dominates it, recipe for higher prices. Please be dead accurate on that. Again, that's their goal. They want to make sure that there's no one firm dominating any particular market. Brilliant. Next thing then is they inform consumers in relation to their rights. They have a website, again, dead easy, but if you had to guess the website, www.ccpc.ie. Make sure you've got that simple thing there. That'll get you marks. And then the other thing there is they can enforce consumers, right? And again, they can fine businesses of up to €300 where they have to pay that within 28 days, okay, if consumers are breaking these laws. Again, circle the name there. It can issue compliance notices for consumers who are in breach of for businesses who are in breach of consumer legislation. Brilliant. That's it there. Be dead accurate, highlight that there. Remember, you're walking into memory exam. Sorry, one thing, every single time they've asked this question, they're asking on the CCPC, it's always just been to evaluate their role. That's literally it. And even there, if you're evaluating it, you have it there, guys. Like, they can issue on-the-spot fines, penalties up to €300. Even just they can put companies on their consumer protection list, and that's really bad publicity. That's real bad publicity for them, not good for their PR. But that's all you need to know. But every time they've asked this question in your exam, it's just been circling back to evaluating the role of the CCPC. Okay, when the CCPC have come up every single time, that's been the question. You'd be absolutely mad not knowing that question really, really well. And it's all marked there. It's all marked there for you anyway.